مساء الورد والياسمين عليكم يا شباب ويا صبايا. معكم طارق أيمن. معنا ضيف رياضتنا بال 2012 كبر منها، دخل على تايتن كان بطلهم، تحول على اليو اف سي بال 2016 ومن نجاح لنجاح ومن فوز لفوز. ومع انه مولود في امريكا، ضيفنا اليوم في حياته ما نسي اصله ولا اهله ولا ناسه. ضيفنا اليوم البطل الفلسطيني بلال. Remember the name, محمد.
Hey, yay. That's what I'm talking about.
I got to get Bruce Buffer to say it like that.
Good luck with that one.
How's it going, man?
Good. How you guys doing?
We're doing awesome
good,
now.
Good.
Bilal, we've had so many freaking requests to get you on the show. You have no idea. Your fan base over here is insane.
Really? That's amazing.
You have no idea, man. People driving us nuts every single day. We're going to screenshot a couple of messages and send them across to you for you to get a taste of how highly people think of you over here.
That's amazing. It's always good to hear people excited to see you on the show or something like that.
Absolutely,
Awesome.
dude. And we were at your first fight at the on Fight Island.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we were both there, man. When you came out with the Palestinian flag, we lost our mother-loving minds. We went mental.
Yeah, that was probably, I think that was probably like the best fighting experience I ever had. Just literally because the crowd was going so nuts, and then like usually anywhere I'm going, anytime I fight in the USA or something, like they think I'm not American. I'll literally walk out and people will be like USA to the other guy, and I'm like, bro, I'm in America too. It's like, but over there it was like amazing. The fans were amazing, and I was like the A side. I was like, all right, cool.
You were the A side that night. That was a hell of a performance.
Yeah, that was amazing. And then, man, that's the only thing now that I don't want to go back there is just because there's not that many fans. So I'm like, I had the experience of when the crowd was amazing. There's so much energy there. And I'm like, now there's no crowd and you want me just to fight on the island and I can't go see any of the places over there.
We had a crowd at UFC 257.
Yeah, man, we were there.
Oh, you guys were there too?
Yeah.
Well,
Oh, okay.
It was 2,600 people, but it felt like 26,000, man. It was insane.
Yeah, it was loud.
It was intense. Obviously because of the Conor Poirier fight and then the Chandler Dan Hooker fight. Yeah, but people were mental, man. People lost their minds.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
It was a really good experience for us, not being smothered and crowded. It was nice. We wish to see you there, but yalla, inshallah soon, man.
Inshallah.
Inshallah, yeah. I'm just hoping everything opens back up because I know that it's not bad over there, right? There's not a lot of COVID.
The numbers are higher than they've been in a while, but there's sort of a common sense approach to the whole thing where, everyone's observing social distancing and wearing masks and the vaccine is out. So people are rushing to get that. So it's not, they haven't closed everything down just because the numbers went up a little bit. So everything's still open.
Yeah.
Are you guys vaccine takers?
Not yet. What about you?
I had it before, so I'm like, all right, well, I should be immune to it for a little bit.
That's
so
right.
I
forgot. That's right. I forgot you did have it. Ayman, you want to start with the questions?
Yeah, man. So listen, Bilal, we want to introduce you to the Arab world a bit more, for them to know more about you, who you are, where you came from. But before we get into that, I'd like to know what you know about us and how come you accepted this interview so quickly? I'm very curious.
Honestly, for me, it's just like supporting your people. Like if people are like Muslim Americans, like it's hard for us to build up our name and our brand and this time right now. And a lot of people they don't respect it. So like there's always like these reporters like Erhwani and stuff like that where everybody wants to get on their shows and stuff like that. But for me, I'm like, I'd rather support the shows that are trying to build up, and especially like you guys who shine the light on Arab Americans and Arab that are in a sport where it's like there's not a lot of us in the sport and a lot of us that are making it and trying. So like it just shines a light on us, and it shines a light for like the younger generation to say, oh, I can make it too. I can make it to the UFC. This guy does it. And that's the thing I love about it, is just because there's only a small amount of people that actually could make it in this sport. And the fact that there's Arab and there are Muslims actually doing it, like I want to show that more to the world and shine the light on it. So like these younger generations don't have to think that when you're in Chicago and over here, like everybody I know, all the Arab, they're all like, oh well, my family owns a store, or I work in a store, and it's like that's always your game plan. There's not like, they don't care about school, they don't care about things. You don't see athletes. Nobody thinks they're gonna be an athlete. No, like I'm not 6 feet tall. I'm not. I can't go to the NBA or stuff like that. But you can. It's all about hard work. Like me, I don't have no genetic crazy things where I have amazing power or amazing speed or anything like that. It's just all hard work, and I wanted it. I was driven by it, and I pushed myself until I got it.
Oh, that's awesome, brother, and we appreciate the support for real.
That's amazing to hear, man. That was a great response. We're going to get into that a bit more later, but to start off with, why don't you tell us a bit about who you are, where you were born, your childhood leading up to your MMA journey?
I was born in Chicago. Been here all my life. I have 3 brothers, 1 sister, and both my parents, alhamdulillah, they're both healthy right now. So we're from Palestine originally, my mom is. And growing up, like they would go back and forth. My mom would stay over there 3 or 4 years in Palestine. My brothers, all my brothers lived over there for 3 to 4 years. It's like she let all of them live out there with her, except for me. I was in America the whole time. Yeah. So, but maybe that's what made me who I am. You know, I always loved sports, always loved being active, always loved doing everything. I didn't do martial arts growing up. The biggest thing I did was like I played basketball a lot. And then when I got to high school, that's when I wanted to play basketball. But my brothers and my cousins, because I'm from the south side of Chicago, to where like if in the school we went to, if you're not black, you're not playing on the basketball team. But I'm like, yeah, you know, I'll make it on the team. So I went to go try out to the basketball team, and I did good. But my brother and them like, no, they're not gonna let you play, dude. You're not black. They're not gonna let you play. So they made me go to wrestling. So then I went to wrestling, and I'm sitting there looking at it like, I don't really care for it. Like it wasn't exciting or anything like that, but just the competition. I love competition. So then I started wrestling. And from there, you know, I was like, all right, well, okay, I'll just do wrestling. I never thought I could do anything with it, but I wrestled 4 years in high school, and then I went to college for law. And then I was like, I'll come back and forth. I went to college probably like 2 hours away from my house in Chicago, but I would always come visit on the weekends. And then coming home visiting on the weekends, I looked in the newspaper one day and I saw my old wrestling coach was in a newspaper and he was fighting. And I don't know if you guys see him, Lewis Taylor. That's the one that he's always in my videos, always in my pictures.
Yeah.
So like I saw him fighting and I was like, what the heck is he a fighter? So then I like messaged him through Facebook. And then I always wondered what he was doing now, because he was like young wrestling coach, but he was like super cool, and like we hit it off once he was my coach. And then like he's like, yeah, I do fighting now. Come to my gym, check it out. So then I started checking it out with him. I started coming to the gym and just learning from him. And then like, so every time I would come home from school, I'll just start training with him. And then it just became a natural transition where I just like loved it and I loved fighting. So then I was like, well, maybe I'll do an amateur fight. So then you do an amateur fight, and then like it's literally like there's no other feeling like it. Like you sit there, and I was like, the first fight, I was as tired as I ever been in my life. Like literally after the first round, I couldn't pick up my arms, but it was just like exhilarating to feel. I had an adrenaline dump, but I like loved it. I loved the sport. I loved getting hit. I loved hitting. And then ever since then, like I was like, well, okay, I'm still going to school. I'm still doing this, but let's see if I could do something with fighting, because it's only a small window. So like school, you could always go back to school. You could always finish. But like my goal when I said it was to make it to the UFC, because I used to watch it, but not not to the point where when I was a kid, I said I was going to be a fighter. I never said that. But
Yeah.
to the point where after I got my first couple fights, I'm like, I'm good at this. So, and I'm competitive. So I'm like, everybody's telling me I can't do it. So that's making me want to do it even more. even when I made the UFC, my uncle was close with me. After my first fight in the UFC, after my second fight in the UFC where I got my first win, he told me, he's like, oh, well, you got a win in the UFC. That's big. Even if you lose the rest of your fights, you can say you got a win in the UFC. And like that always hit me the wrong. Yeah, that like hit me the wrong way. You know, I don't know. Like, they don't know what to tell you. They don't know what hurts and what doesn't hurt. Like that one hurt because I'm like looking at it like you don't believe in me. So that just made me only want to push harder and make me want to work harder. And then, but that's what the forces that drive me. Like I know there's a lot of people out here that doubt me, and like I said, people look and they're like, "Oh, he's Arab American. He's not going to be a champion. There's no possible way he could be a champion. He wasn't born in the Dagestani mountains. He wasn't wrestling bears when he was younger." But it's not. It's all about hard work, and it's about how hard you're willing to push yourself. And I think I'm willing to push myself harder than anybody else.
Oh man, it's definitely paid off. I mean, you didn't just make it to the UFC. Well, first of all, you became the Titan FC champion, and you were undefeated at that time. And right now, your record, I mean, it's obscene. You're ranked 13, and this fight coming up is going to catapult you into the top 5. So you didn't just make it; you made it, brother.
Yeah, for sure. No, that's the thing. That's the thing I always said. It's all about like a journey. Like you said, when I fought in Titan, the guys over there were the first time I fought over there. It was funny. I fought over there, and I'm carrying the flag, and we fought like it was like on a military base. My first fight with them was on a military base, and in like Alabama. And
oh wow!
Like, yeah, it was like in Alabama. So I'm wearing a Free Palestine shirt.
Oh no!
Yeah, so like whenever I fought anywhere, like my family, my friends, we would go. They would come with me to anywhere I would go. So we would be like 30 to 40 people that would drive to go watch me fight. Like I had a really good support system with my friends and family. They always wanted to see me. So I'm like, okay. So we were down there and literally in Buffalo, Alabama, and then like my fight's coming up, and then literally nothing but like racist white people in there, and they go up to Lewis. Some old lady sees Lewis Taylor, my coach, and he went to the bathroom, and she's seeing him, and she's like, "Oh man, it's a good thing you're here. You see all these terrorists around here?" And then Lewis was like, Lewis just started laughing. He's like, "Oh yeah, man." He's like, "It's a good thing we have one of you guys here because he's black." And I was like, "Oh my god." And he's like, "Man, it's crazy that now I'm the good guy and you got in the area." And I was like, and then even funnier. So I won my debut in Titan, and I'm sitting there, and then I'm in the back, and I was like probably like the second fight, and literally I'm in the back, and I'm sitting there waiting to get my paycheck because they wouldn't put it directly in your thing. You have to wait for them to sign a check for you. So I'm in the back waiting to sign a check, and usually you're the first fight, so you're gonna get paid like first. But I was waiting, and it was literally they paid every single person before me, and I'm like, what the heck is taking so long? You know, after a fight, you're like, your adrenaline dumped, you're drained, you're tired, and it's like 2 a.m. and he hasn't paid me yet. And I'm like, what the heck is going on? And I'm like, all right, whatever. And then literally he paid me last, and he gave me my check, and I left. And then the next day, my manager called me, and he's like, yeah, he said, yeah, I talked to it was a great performance, a great fight, whatever. But he's like, yeah, the CEO said, don't be political. I'm like, don't be political. Yeah, don't carry the flag out with you next fight. And I said, what? I said, no. He said, yeah, I told him to F off. What does that have to do with anything? But like, it all started clicking where he paid me last because he was obviously mad that I carried the flag. And then I was like, who would even like, I was like, all right, whatever. But then ever since then, like they would sign like the newest guys, the biggest kickboxers, the best people to try to beat me because they obviously hated me. So then like my next guy I went against like a really good prospect, and Zan Kamaka, he was like 9-1 with like 9 knockouts, and then I beat him. And then I'm sitting there, they didn't give me another fight for like 4 months. And I'm like, my goal is always the UFC. So I'm like, I like to stay active. So I'm sitting there like, I'm going on Twitter, I'm calling out guys from other organizations, like LFA and stuff. And then all of a sudden they were like, oh yeah, we'll get you a fight. We got a title fight for you. And it was against Haider Hassan. And he was an Ultimate Fighter. He didn't have a really good record, but I was like, okay, well, that's not bad. I'll fight him. And then, so I'm training for him. And then all of a sudden, all on Twitter, it goes, me versus Steve Carl. What the heck? They never told me I'm fighting Steve Carl. And then, like, they literally announced it. They planned it. They had, like, a big poster of it already. And I'm like, what happened to Haider? And then, we're trying to call, like, the owner, whatever, CEO. He's not answering. And then, like, 2 days later, he calls me. He's like, oh, I'm sorry. I was in Afghanistan on a military base doing military things. But yeah, I don't know who leaked that information. I was gonna call you to see if you wanted to fight Steve Carl. And there's a big difference between Haider Hassan and Steve Carl. Haider Hassan at the time was like 6-3. Steve Carl was like 15-2. And I was only 8-0 at the time. And I was like, what? I was like, you guys already announced it, so it's not like I'm gonna say no to a fight. But I was like, at that point, I was like, I always wanted to fight the best guys because I'm like, if I want to make it to the UFC, I have to beat these guys outside of the UFC. If I can't win these guys outside of the UFC, then there's no point in me even going to the UFC. Where I wasn't one of those guys that wanted to fight bums and just build my record up just so I could say I made it to the UFC. But then, like, it all clicks at the end where, like, they hated me so much that they were just trying to get me to lose. And, like, literally for that fight, I got paid $1,500. And then Steve Carl is such a nice guy. Like, he talked to me after the fight. He was nice. And he's like, yeah, they were paying me $5,000 and $5,000. I was like, and that was like his first fight with them. But I was like, I just like laughed at it all now. Now that I think back at it, like the road that it takes to get to somewhere, it's a funny road.
It's crazy to think that crap still happens in the world, man. Like, it's hard to believe being on this side of the world. We don't see it at all, right? So it's hard to imagine that shit still happens. And it's pretty sad, but I'm guessing that's probably the best thing that ever happened to you, though. Throwing the best of the best at you, right? Challenging you.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I always said. I was like, never one of those guys that say no to a fight. So, like, of course, I'm always going to say yes. And then, but it, like, built me to where now where you see a lot of guys go to the UFC and then they get into the UFC and they fight guys that are good or on their level and they start losing. And it's like, why is this guy losing? I thought he was 13-0. And you're like, yeah, because you're 13-0, but against guys that with a 1-2 record, 0-10 record, and then like because the UFC doesn't really pay attention to who you're fighting, they just pay attention to what your record is. So these guys are out here fighting bums and then get into the UFC with big records and they lose in the UFC, and then people are wondering like, how did this undefeated guy used to lose in the UFC? It's because like they didn't challenge themselves outside of the UFC, and that's what I always tell younger guys. Once you get to a point 5 or 6-0, start at least get a couple challenges outside of the UFC where you test yourself against good guys and to see if you're really up for it and you really can compete with these guys.
Yeah. I mean, you brought this up, so we've got to talk about it in terms of the Haider Hassan dropping out and Steve Carl coming in. Out of all the UFC guys that I've spoken to, we have never seen anybody have as many last-minute dropouts and changes as you. I reckon you've had, and correct me if I'm mistaken, I reckon you've had maybe 2 or 3 fights go ahead as scheduled.
Yeah, it's funny. Literally, when I first got into the UFC, like every fight I was taking was probably like 3 to 4 week notice fights. And all of them swaps. This guy dropped out. This guy's coming in. That guy dropped out. This guy's had 2 guys. How many guys tested for USADA? 2 or 3. You had 2 or 3 get sick. You had 2 or 3. What's his name with the broken nose? Yeah. And that's the thing. Because for me, I'm always gonna say yes. Like to any fighter, like most fighters, they're never gonna say no to a fight. And that was me. That's my style. My mentality is I train. I'm good enough in all aspects of the sport, kickboxing, wrestling, jiu-jitsu. So like, I don't care who's in front of me. I can fight them. So I'm never going to say no to a fight. And I'm always going to say, yeah, but like people don't understand that a lot of guys take that serious. That's why for me, I don't watch tape on my guys a lot where I have to study them and know every little thing they do, because it's happened to me so much where last second changes. So for me and my coaches, they don't like me to concentrate straight on one opponent. It's like whenever I'm fighting, I'm looking at it as my goal. That's who I'm fighting, so I need to train. Because if you're training for somebody that like that, it's going to make you work that much harder. It's going to make you work in all parts of the sport to where you know you're fighting the champion. So you have to work. You have to work twice as hard. So that's how I look at it. I don't look at it as, oh, I'm fighting Joe Schmo or something like that, so I can take it a little easy. I don't have to train as hard. Every fight to me is my next hardest fight, so I have to train twice as hard no matter what, because anything can change at any time. Even with this fight, with COVID happening, something can happen to Gilbert or Kamaru Usman on the day of, and hey, maybe they need somebody to step in, and I'm gonna be one of those guys to say yes.
Oh my God,
so I'm gonna make weight at 170, and you never know what'll happen.
But not a lot of people have that attitude, to be honest. Especially once you're ranked in the UFC, right? It's more of a political and strategic game nowadays. It's not about the fight anymore. It's pretty sad where ranked fighters don't want to face unranked opponents, right? Now that you're in that number 13 spot, I think it's a game changer for you where, okay, now you're with the top dogs, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Well, like I said, I think the rankings really hurt the sport, because guys, they have a reason to turn down fights. They have a reason to say, no, I don't want to fight below me. But in the old days, it was always, if this guy's on a good streak, this guy's going to fight this guy on a good streak. Like me, I won 7 of 8 fights. Like I should be fighting somebody that's up there, that has a good ranking, a higher ranked guy. But guys turn me down. Guys say no. Even when I try to hop in short notice fights, guys are going to try to turn you down. So those are like the only ways for me to get those big ranked names is if, it's a week notice fight, 2 days notice fight. All right, are you ready to step in? But now, like I said, now that I'm on the ladder, of the ranked guys, now it's okay. I have a number next to my name. So now all I have to do is keep working my way up. If I have to go 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, I'll do it. But now is the point where I could sit there and stay ready for these opportunities. If you look at Gilbert Burns only had 3 170 pound fights, but he was ready at the right moments.
Yeah,
he was ready to take the Gunnar Nelson fight on short notice. He beat Gunnar Nelson, who was ranked, and then right from there he beat Damian Maia. So it's all about momentum, and it's all about the right timing with your fights. So for me, I'm going to say yes to every fight.
It's true with people who lose as well, right? For example, Ali Quinta, nobody knew who the heck that was before he lost to Habib. So it's not necessarily a win you need. It's just the right platform, I guess. Yeah,
exactly. And like nowadays, where it's like you said, it's about entertainment. It's about people just wanting to see you. Like Mike Perry, he's not a great fighter. He's not good, but the fans love him for some reason, and they hate him.
They hate him.
It's crazy. Like they literally got he has like 1 million followers, and I'm like, man, this guy is not good. Why is everybody like so
they want to see him get hurt, man. They want to see him punched in the face. That's why.
Yeah, but that's the thing. If they're going to tune in for that, that's what's going to get the UFCs to give you bigger fights, bigger names, because of those things right there. Like just because of your following, and that's the thing. It's harder nowadays, where it's like you have to be outrageous. You have to do something stupid to get those people to start following you and get those people to want to watch you. Whether it's wanting to watch you win or watch you lose, you have to give them a reason to do it.
Something you said that stood out to me was your path to stardom will be just staying in the game and nothing else. Do you still believe that holds true even today with where the sport is?
What did you say? My bad.
You mentioned something recently that your path to stardom will be just staying in the game and nothing else, right? Just stay in the game, do your thing, and that's going to be your path to the top. Do you really think that's all you need nowadays, considering where the sport is today?
No, you need to have that. You need to have that personality. Like, there's some guys that are trying the trash talking route to try to get them closer to the title or get them bigger fights. but that's not me. That's not like, I'm not gonna fake it. I'm not gonna say like anything stupid or anything like that. But like, I think my personality, fans like it. Fans are catching along with it. So I feel like just me, to me, what I need to do is just get big finishes. So like really good performances in the cage. I had a meeting with Sean Shelby once, and then we were just like talking about like where to go and things like that. And he was just like, you never know which fight's gonna make you click in with the fans. So he said like Max Holloway at one point was 5 or 6 fight winning streak, but nobody wanted to watch him. Still, fans never really gravitated toward him because they never wanted to watch him fight. But after he beat Aldo, he said something clicked where now he's like one of the biggest stars. So he said that like the click can happen at any moment. It's just all about what performance is going to make that happen. There's going to be that one performance where it's like everybody's going to want to see you. And like they said, like there's no science behind it. It's just one of those things where fans pick and choose. So they hated Daniel Cormier for so long. And he was like one of the best guys, one of the best fighters, and he was like, had a great personality, but you're like, how come people don't like him? And it's just one of those where they say it's like the fans will there's no rhyme or reason to it. They gravitate to who they gravitate toward. So he just said that it all just takes time, and it all just takes that one fight or that one performance where bam, it just starts clicking and it starts hitting. So to me, it's just keeping my head down, staying positive, and everything will happen at the right time. Just being patient. I don't want to sit there and when I first got in, I was just always like, oh, I want to fight this guy. I want to fight this guy. I fired my last manager because I'm like, you're not getting me any ranked guys. I need a ranked guy. I want a ranked guy because I wanted to keep moving up the ladder fast. Yeah. But now I'm starting to realize it's all about patience, all about the right thing. And working with Ali, it's a lot different because his mentality is a lot different than any manager I ever worked with, where he's more business minded and he's more about patience than anything. To me, after every one of my fights, I'm like, all right, I'm good, I'm healthy, let's go again. And he's just like, no, relax, chill out. We're gonna see what's gonna happen. Take a couple breaks. We'll slow it down a little bit, and that just it just like makes me as a better fighter and a better, like it's a business too. So where it makes you a better businessman as well.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, speaking of business, I mean, first of all, your Instagram, definitely my favorite out of all the UFC guys. That Tony Ferguson skit was the best thing I'd seen all year.
Yeah. Replay like 50 times.
Yeah. The merch, remember the show, right? So you've got so much going on now outside of the fight game. And we've never done this before, and this is the first time we're going to do this. But we don't have time to order the merch and get it to Dubai on time. XL. Give
me your address for sure. I'll get you guys one for sure.
We need some of those t-shirts, brother. I mean, I went online. I'm like, we're going to order them. They're not going to be here in time for the fight. I want to be wearing it while I'm watching the fight. So we're asking right now, send us some merch.
Bilal, I was not in on this. I was not in on this before.
No. Go ahead, David.
No, I was going to say, for the sake of time, I want to ask you about the Arab MMA world, right? First of all, you have a lot of fans over here, probably way more than you can even fathom. So every time you step into that cage, you're kind of representing the Arab world, right? And carrying that with you into the cage. Do you ever think about that? And does it affect you negatively or positively whatsoever?
No, it really does. It affects me in a positive way. It motivates me. Like you said, when I'll get like random messages from people all over the world, and like they'll message me like, we're with you, brother, no matter what. And like, those are the ones that mean the most to you. Instead of like the people where it says like, you'll get the random people like, oh, make us proud. And I'm like, make you proud. Like, I'm trying to make my family proud. That's what I'm trying to make them do. Like, I'm not fighting for that. But like the people that are like really into it, because those people that say make me proud, what if I lose? Am I gonna make you unproud? Are you gonna be mad at me or something? Like, those are the people where I get mad at those messages because I'm like,
no mlukhia for you.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, but like the people that are like really genuinely in, you know, like that'll send you prayers and to send you those kind of messages. Those are the ones that really I know that are
nice.
They don't really, probably don't even watch MMA, but they just do it. They'll watch me just for me, and those are the ones that are really doing it for. And like I said, like now, especially now with the UFC, like they're bringing a lot of guys from Brave, and a lot of those guys are really good. And now people are starting to realize that there's a whole nother section of the world that you're not paying attention to. It's always Brazil or Russia. And those are the only sections looking at. But now they can look to the Middle East now and know that it's growing down there. It's a sport that's growing down there, and there's a lot of good guys on there, a lot of talented guys.
Anyone who stands out? Anyone you know of outside of the UFC?
Man, I loved Munir Laziz. His debut fight.
Yeah,
I saw his debut fight. I'm like, man, this guy's a killer, and he's so good. But like I said, it's a fight, and all of this, anything can happen with small gloves on, small no shin guards. Like I think he just got caught in the body shot his last fight. But like I said, like it's not one of those where now I'm going to say this guy sucks. I'm like, this guy's really good, and you could just tell he's good, but he just didn't have a chance to open up at all his last fight.
Yeah. Anyone outside of the UFC that you know?
Like I said, it's the sport, and Abdul Karim Sawadi, he's really good.
Yeah,
he's a beast. I'm hoping that he gets a fight soon.
Yeah,
he's a killer. I train with him, man. Like just training with him, I'm like, man, this kid works so hard. He's an amazing kid, and like just his mentality, he's just such a kind hearted to do it. Where I want to just see good things happen to him, just because of the type of person he is. And I know he works hard, but that's the thing. It's just harder now. Nowadays to get fights just because of COVID and to get seen out there. So inshallah he gets something soon. Inshallah he gets back in there.
I also think COVID's been a blessing in disguise for some fighters, right? I think some fighters got a chance to shine and fight more than they would have had a chance to otherwise.
Yeah, for sure. Like in the UFC, if you're in the UFC and you're during the COVID era, it's perfect for you. But like outside of the UFC, it's hard just because guys with like records that are still trying to get into the UFC. Nobody's doing cards. Like there's a show in Chicago that would have a card. It'd be like 2 months, and I fought for them 6 times, and I was like, we could fight for them anytime they had a card. But now, none of these people, if you can't sell tickets, they're not gonna have a show. So it's a lot harder. So there's only like 2 or 3 shows that are actually out here that are actually doing a card, but they're only gonna pick guys that they know that they like and that the guys that they've been with them for a while. So it's a lot harder for those guys up and comers. But I'm hoping, inshallah, everything starts opening up soon.
Inshallah. I mean, look, from our side, especially for UFC 258, we saw 258 and then we saw 259, and we went, holy crap, 259, this is insane as a card. And we looked at 258 and we go, yeah, this is very good. And then we saw Belal Muhammad versus Diego Lima, and we're like, all right, well, to hell with 259 and to hell with the main card on 258. We don't care about anything anymore. This is the fight. We just went, right, zoom in on this one. Honestly, man, and that tends to be the prevailing feeling in the Middle East when we have you fighting. You'd be shocked to know how much people literally will not care about. We don't care about. This is so bad. I'm never going to get Kamaru or Gilbert on the show after saying this. But when we know that you're on the card, we don't even care what they're doing.
Yeah.
Honestly, that means a lot. Like honestly, like I said, like over here, you don't see that type of thing. You don't see that type of support. Like I had my family, I had my friends that are going to support me, but like there's not really like when I was over there, it was like I said, it was like the best feeling ever, just because the crowd was going nuts for you every single time. Like you walked out, and it was a different feeling that I never got in America, and you never feel that here. That type of energy here, so maybe I got to move down there.
Oh man, yes. We're not saying it to blow smoke up your ass, but it is the God's honest truth. I mean, we want, and I guess this is why me and Eamon started this podcast, right? Like you said, is we're trying to give shine to the Middle Eastern fighters. So when we saw you and when we found you, we're like, oh my God, this is. And I know this is putting a lot on you, but we're like, this is our Muhammad Ali. Like this is our guy.
Yeah.
Screw everyone else. This is our guy.
True. Very true.
Well, that means a lot.
This interview means a lot, man. It really does. We really appreciate making the time for us. And before we wrap it up, I know you're pressed with time. What advice would you give Arab fighters or struggling fighters in the Arab world who are trying everything they can to get into the UFC, but not finding that shining moment?
So the biggest thing I tell everybody, like even the younger guys that I train with and I work with, is just patience. It's gonna come at the right time. Everything is written for you. Tawakkal ala Allah. Everything's gonna happen at the right time. Don't get unmotivated. If you're putting in the hard work, it's gonna come. It's gonna click at the right time. Everything's gonna happen for a reason. Even if after a loss, it's just knowing that there was a reason for that loss. There's a reason for injuries. There's a reason for everything. The timing is everything. Patience is everything. Don't try to force anything, and everything, inshallah, will come at the right moments. And it's like I said, it's gonna be bigger now.
Very well said, my friend. Belal, thank you very much, brother. We appreciate it. We know you need to go. Tariq, any last words?
Nothing from me.
No, well, it was amazing. Honestly, I'll come back on the show too again to talk more once I have more time. But yeah, it was great talking to you guys for sure. I want to get back on with you guys. Inshallah,
we
after
have
the fight.
so many fan questions. It's insane. There's a stack of them. I know we don't have time for it. We'll keep them for next time. Sorry, you guys. When Belal has time next time, we'll get to them. Really appreciate it. Appreciate your time. Best of luck. Go out there and scalp Lima for us.
Thank you, brothers. Really appreciate it. And for sure, I'll message you guys. We'll do it again, brother. I'll get you your shirt. Message me your address.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I will.
Yeah.
I'm gonna mooch some merch.